The Cascade Lakes between Lake Placid and Keene are maybe the best roadside view in the North Country. Maybe in all of New York State, I'd say. The long, skinny lakes reflecting the sky, framed by the dramatic mountain cliffs on both sides. I drove by this weekend and I saw the most delightful scene. Dozens of people, tons of kids too, skating out on the ice. There were even 2 hockey games going on. The weather has to line up just right for this kind of wild skating. And for the last week, we've been so lucky. We strap on the skates on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Pearsall Wealth Management at UBS Wealth Management USA, subsidiary UBS AG, member FINRA SIPC, 1 Broad Street, Glens Falls.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Monday, February 25th. First up, new details have emerged about the death of a man in Saranac Lake last week. Police identified him as 73-year-old Raymond Morch. His body was found last Wednesday under a bridge along the Saranac River. According to police, Morch had been living under the bridge, and his family members discovered his body. His autopsy was described as inconclusive, pending a toxicology report. Police say no foul play is suspected, and there was no threat to the public. Governor Kathy Hochul says she'd be on board if President Joe Biden decides to crack down on the southern border. WNYC's John Campbell reports for the New York Public News Network.
Hochul was among a group of governors who met with the president at the White House. It came amid reports that Biden may use his executive authority to make it tougher for people to seek asylum at the southern border. In a statement, Hochul says she told Biden she'd support the move. New York City is providing shelter to tens of thousands of migrants seeking asylum in the U.S. Governor Hochul and Mayor Eric Adams have warned it's not financially sustainable. Some congressional Democrats oppose the idea of a unilateral border crackdown. Bronx and Queens Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says seeking asylum is, quote, a legal right of all people. In Albany, I'm John Campbell for the New York Public News Network.
Libraries in the North Country are hosting solar eclipse-themed events from now until mid-April, and they're offering free eclipse glasses to the public while supplies last. That's a big deal. According to a press release from the North Country Library System, events include guest lectures, story times, and making pinhole cameras for safe viewing. Some libraries are hosting viewing parties the afternoon of the total solar eclipse on Monday, April 8th. The free eclipse glasses are provided by the Space Science Institute in Boulder, Colorado. You can find out more information about all this on the North Country Library System website. The right conditions for outdoor ice skating are tricky, but when the weather aligns, it's pure magic. Reporter Amy Feiereisel went out to experience that magic on the Cascade Lakes between Lake Placid and Keene last week and sent this audio postcard.
From the shores of Cascade Lake, I can see 2 men skating tight circles in and around boulders near the lake's eastern edge.
You're using like ski poles. I've never seen that before.
Normally we carry hockey sticks, but we're not playing hockey today because we're...
Today was just a skating day.
Yes, today is skating day.
Perry Babcock and Greg Denon are both 67. As children, they played hockey together in Lake Placid.
And you're still playing hockey all these years later.
Yeah, it makes you feel like a kid all over again, so it's good stuff.
Lower Cascade Lake runs east to west. It's skinny, about a mile long, and with mountains on either side. Denon and Babcock have been skating this lake for decades. But this winter's skating windows have been brief and fleeting, with thaw after thaw after thaw. But still, they're lucky, says Babcock.
We're still high enough at elevation up here in the Adirondacks, so I grew up downstate, and all the pond skating down there is gone. The ponds just don't freeze anymore. So up here, we're still lucky to have it.
Today, they were scouting the ice for a locals hockey game, Lake Placid versus Keene Valley.
And usually we have a very strong rivalry with our friends from Keene Valley. They're called the Beavers. and we're the Lake Placid Bombers.
And
The Bombers versus the Beavers.
Bombers versus the Beavers, and the Bombers always win. So
That's important that get on. Yeah. If nothing else comes out of this, the Bombers always beat the Beavers.
Of course, there's no way to fact check that. Not long after Babcock and Denon pack up, a group of kids arrive, bundled to the nines. They're here from North Country School, which is just down the road. Their teacher, Sierra Grennan, says they had to seize the moment.
You need like perfect conditions. You need to have really cold weather after not having a lot of snow so that you can get this like perfect flat ice. And there wasn't wind when it was forming, so it's smooth and beautiful.
It's a little windy, so some of the kids move cautiously, but others skate with wild abandon, fast, backwards. A few have hockey sticks and pucks, including middle schooler Ziggy Moore.
Now you're pretty comfortable on the skates.
I've skated since like the age of like 3, 4. I've grown up doing a lot of pond hockey with my dad and brother.
And have you been skating here before?
This is my first time skating here. Definitely not the last. Ice is like the best I've ever skated on outside of a rink.
Everyone I meet on the ice is wearing hockey or figure skates, except for one woman who I first see gliding at the far western end of the lake. She's making these big, graceful strides in ski boots attached to a long piece of wood and blade.
Can you explain what it is you're skating on?
I am skating on what's called a Nordic blade, and I am able to use my cross-country ski boot.
Nancy Battaglia, the prolific Adirondack photographer, has had her Nordic blades for over 30 years. She says they're great for in-the-wild skating.
You're able to handle the lumpy bumpies a little bit better than the shorter blades. You can go pretty quick. Be careful of that track. Don't fall in it. Yeah.
Battaglia is an ice chaser. She's part of a group of folks who are always looking for ice and reporting back to one another.
And this is one of the places that was reported good. And then yesterday woke up to 3 or 4 inches on the ground of snow, so that usually ruins skating.
I know, but then I drove by here yesterday and I saw the wind blowing the snow off of the lake and sort of like getting it this burnished kind of clean look.
And that's exactly, I drove by as well and said, well, there is no snow on it. It's been blown off.
Battaglia leads me to a patch of particularly clear ice.
Now how's that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you look down and it's like totally clear with these tiny little bubbles frozen in there.
It almost looks like balloons. Instead of going up layers of balloons, it's bubbles going down in.
And it's just so clear, you can look straight down.
As we skate west towards the setting sun, the ice gets blacker, glossier, the bubbles bigger. There's no telling what conditions will be like tomorrow, so we savor every moment on the ice. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio on Lower Cascade Lake in Keene.
You can see photos of folks skating on Lower Cascade Lake in the online story at ncpr.org. So great. Beautiful photos. We have more news there all the time as well. Of course, ncpr.org. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast version of Story of the Day. It comes out earlier at 4 p.m. each day. It's free, and it downloads automatically to your phone or laptop or iPad. So you can listen when you want, or you can listen to a few in a row to catch up on regional news. That's the Story of the Day podcast. You can find it in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. Music today by Martha Gallagher of Keene and Caitlin Scholl of Lake Placid. I'm David Sommerstein, North Country Public Radio.